Alright, so guys, today I am going to be looking at the unfortunate case of college basketball teams playing at NBA or NHL arenas. Of course, the atmosphere in those arenas never very good. This is kind of like the situation of college football teams playing at NFL stadiums. It just lacks, loudness. It lacks any type of atmosphere. And we're going to begin with Memphis basketball, who they do have a very good basketball program. They play at the FedExForum. Funny enough, they used to play at the Memphis Pyramid for 13 years, but yes, now they play at the Forum. This is shared with the Memphis Grizzlies, of course. There is the idea that the FedExForum will be receiving a major $300 million renovation, although that has not been confirmed yet. And I got to give Memphis and their student body credit. Even with an NBA arena, this crowd, you can tell just off of TV that they do get very loud. It's a decent atmosphere, which honestly means it's probably a really good atmosphere considering their college games are at an NBA arena. The capacity's a lot bigger. If Memphis built their own arena, you would bring the capacity down by about 5,000 or 6,000 easily. You would design the entire arena a little bit differently, and there would be just more of a homey feel to it. But still, they do a decent job of bringing in crowds. It'll be interesting to see what happens after the renovation. I would imagine Memphis University would continue to play at the FedExForum, considering it would be upgraded, and at least the atmosphere isn't terrible. The arena itself, in terms of NBA arenas, doesn't rank very high. That's part of the reason they're doing the renovation, but that is one example of a college basketball team having their home arena as an NBA arena. The next one, oh boy, this is a lot worse. It is the Georgetown Hoyas, and we understand how bad Georgetown basketball has been. The horrible stretch with Patrick Ewing as their head coach. They play at Capital One Arena, and you gotta wonder what happens to Georgetown basketball in terms of where they're gonna play if both the Wizards and the Capitals move out of the District of Columbia and Northern Virginia. What's going to happen to Georgetown? Now, they do have their own arena, but it only sits a few thousand, and it would not suffice to be their actual home for multiple seasons, and the atmosphere inside this arena in general is terrible. It's a bottom 5 NBA arena, and when you talk about a Georgetown home game, you're talking about loads and loads of empty upper deck sections. It's very sad. I don't even think they utilize a curtain, because some of the arenas bring down a curtain just because the attendance is so bad they don't even have the upper deck open. But it's just a horrible atmosphere, and Georgetown gets basically no home court advantage unless it's like a crazy circumstance. I can't even remember the last time this arena gave Georgetown a serious home court advantage. I will say it does host different conference tournaments and things like that. It's more of a neutral site type feel than an actual home court atmosphere, and that kind of goes with the Wizards as well. Even when the Wizards had John Wall and Bradley Beal, it never felt like, although I do remember a few times it was okay in terms of crowd noise. It's just not a great arena for that. But either way, the next one, it is the St. John's Red Storm. Now, St. John's is a weird one. They do have their own arena, but unfortunately it only sits about 5,600 people, so they play some games at their own arena, and other home games are played at Madison Square Garden. Now, Madison Square Garden, it's legendary, it's great, we get it, but in terms of atmosphere for a college basketball game, I just don't think it gets it done. If I was St. John's, I would move most of my games to their home arena, even with the capacity problem under 6,000. That is a very small arena. You could utilize that to your advantage, pump in, get a lot of noise, get a raucous environment, but it's kind of a weird situation. It's like, if you have two different home arenas, do you really even have a home arena? Because you're playing at two different places. I would suggest the Ohio State men's basketball team to do something like that with St. John Arena, play half of your home games there, and then half at Value City Arena, but it doesn't look like they're doing that. Either way, St. John's, again, it's a legendary arena. It's one of the best NBA arenas, the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. But it just, Madison Square Garden also hosts, I believe it hosted the NIT for a while, and it does host those beginning of the season tournaments. It just feels neutral site to me. There's just, it's not a St. John's vibe when they host games there, but that is another example of it, although that's kind of different because half of their games, it's like half and half split. The next one, it is NC State, the Wolfpack. They play their games at PNC Arena, which is also an NHL arena, and it is getting a big-time exterior renovation. But NC State, yes, this is a de facto, like, NBA-level arena with a very high capacity because, again, it is a legitimate NHL arena. So it is interesting, but just looking at the design of it, it's very professional. You know, when you look at something like this, if NC State was actually going to design their own arena, there is no way it would look anything like this with the upper deck going all the way around, you know, with no natural light. It is unfortunate. At least it's getting an exterior renovation, but NC State, it's kind of decent in terms of crowd noise. They're an okay team. It's not the best, though. It's nothing daunting. The next one, it is Seton Hall. So Seton Hall, they play at the Prudential Center, which recently just opened back in around 2006, I want to say. It's only been, you know, around for a little bit over a decade. This also hosts NHL hockey, New Jersey to be exact. So Seton Hall, this is another situation that's very similar to NC State. If they were to ever build their own arena, the capacity is just ridiculous. Although the exterior of this stadium does look rather nice, it just doesn't give you an amazing interior feel. It's not like the seats are on top of each other like they normally do with college basketball. The vibe is just off. It's a much more professional vibe. That's the problem when a college basketball team plays at an NBA arena. However, it can kind of work like with Memphis. A lot of the times it's not a great mix. And then you do also have Marquette, who plays at the brand new Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. So this is the Milwaukee Bucks home arena, and this is where Marquette plays. Again, another situation. It's a beautiful arena. It's brand new. It's one of the best NBA arenas, state of the art, absolutely. And it does have a lot of newer things that go along with it, including a smaller upper deck, a bigger lower bowl, which will help with the noise. But in general, let's be honest, it's an NBA arena. You know, Marquette, they're a good team. Especially recently, they've had a few good runs. You would want them to have their own arena. Unfortunately for them, they do not. However, it's not all bad considering the arena that they play in is very state-of-the-art, and it does have a modern interior. Moving on to a few other random examples. These are not NBA arenas or NHL arenas, but it is kind of a weird situation. So the JMA Wireless Dome obviously hosts Syracuse football. They cut it in half, and they also host Syracuse men's basketball, which is kind of an odd situation. Certainly cool. I like it because it's very unique, and it also can have the capacity, depending on how long they extend it and sell tickets down the upper deck on both sides, capacity almost up around 36,000, which is pretty cool. And then also you do have Holt Arena, home of Idaho, that hosts football and basketball too. That one's a lot easier. Recently, they just did a renovation where they changed out all of the seats and modernized it. But yeah, all of those like domes in North Dakota, South Dakota, Idaho, they're all the same. They all look like massive sheds or like interior warehouses. Yeah, but that hosts both the football and the basketball team. Again, that's a lot different than the Syracuse situation because the capacity of it's not very big, so it's not like a crazy change, but there also is that. And there are other examples as well, but mainly, I would say when you're talking about going from an NBA arena or an NBA style to a college basketball, it just does not fit. And the worst example where it's really bad, I think, is Georgetown with Capital One Arena. It is just a horrible atmosphere in terms of that. And I would say Georgetown has the most interesting future situation when you look at the potential move of both the Wizards and the Capitals to Northern Virginia. Do they decide to keep Capital One Arena even though it is, I wouldn't call it decrepit at this point, but it's just not a great arena? Would they seriously keep it possibly as kind of like a hub arena? I'm guessing they would want that land considering what it's surrounded by, a lot of foot traffic in that area. Would they really want to just keep that arena solely for hosting like college basketball tournaments, maybe a conference tournament towards the end of the year, and also Georgetown? Or would Georgetown consider maybe building a different arena, making an investment? Either way, we will see. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.